Wow. I just finished watching Top Gun Maverick with my new 1961 towers from Arendal, along with my 1723 Center S center channel speaker, also from Arendal, and I gotta say, my home theater has never sounded this good. Let's discuss. If you've been following the channel, then you know I've had a bit of a hodgepodge setup in my home theater consisting of Polk, Klipsch, and my Arendal 1723 Center S THX center channel. Well, my setup just got a little less hodgepodge because a few weeks back, Arendal reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in reviewing more of their speakers on the channel. Now, I'm currently in the process of upgrading all my speakers to Arendal, so of course I said yes. And instead of going after the top of the line with more 1723 speakers, I decided to give the 1961 towers a try since they're a little more budget friendly. They're built with the same level of high quality materials as the cream of the crop, the 1723s, and all of Arendal's speakers are timbre matched exactly the same, so you're not losing anything on sound quality. Plus, I'm kind of limited on space in the front of my theater. Later in this video, I'm going to give you my impressions with some demos, but you know I love my Anthem Arc Genesis report, so let's take a look at how the 1961 towers measured in my room. The 1961 towers have a frequency response of 49 Hz to 20 kHz sealed and 30 Hz to 20 kHz ported. In my configuration, I like to run my speakers ported for the deepest extension possible. Taking a look at Anthem Arc Genesis, both speakers measured nearly identical, which is not that great in my room. Keyword here, my room. I have quite a few acoustic panels in my theater, but clearly I still need to fix some areas, primarily in the 50 to 200 Hz range. Both the left and right 1961s have massive spikes from 50 to 150 Hz, with another spike around 5,000 to 10,000 kHz, and a few dips around 200 Hz and again around 1,000 kHz. Both left and right speakers are towed in toward the listening position and are about half a foot away from the front wall. Again, I don't have a lot of space up front, so I'm limited on how much I can bring my speakers further out from the wall. However, adding additional acoustic panels and some diffusion panels hopefully in 2023 should address some of the spikes and dips in the same frequency ranges that I consistently get with any speaker I'm using for my LCR. Acoustic issues aside, after Arc made its corrections, the 1961s are more on point with the target curve falling off at around 80 to 100 Hz. If we compare the 1961s to my timbre matched 1723 Center S, you can see I have the same issues in frequency response as the 1961, so my room is definitely the culprit. Usually I run room correction as soon as I get new speakers, but this time I decided to do something different. Instead of running room calibration and then letting the speakers break in, I let the speakers break in and then I ran Arc Genesis. Now, I know there's a huge debate out there on whether or not speaker break-in is even a real thing, but a 50-hour break-in period comes recommended from Arendal, so I have no reason not to trust their engineers. If you think about it, running room calibration as soon as you get your speakers hooked up doesn't really allow them to fully mature to their true potential. So, letting your speakers break in first should give you better measurements after you run calibration as opposed to straight out of the box. And whether or not you believe in the break-in period, I can personally attest that with my 1723 Center S, I did in fact notice that some weeks after consistently watching content, one day I noticed that the center channel just sounded more full, nuanced, and detailed than it did before. I also decided to do something different with the 1961s and 1723 Center S by running them in a more full range fashion by crossing them over at 50 Hz instead of 80 Hz. After all, my LCRs are now timbre matched and can go as low as 49 Hz. And seeing as my LCR has a 4 ohm rating with up to 350 watts RMS at 4 ohms, playing down to the rated frequency response should be no issue. So I'm excited and curious to see how my LCR will perform at full range and which configuration I'll prefer. So for the past 10 or so years, my home theater has always consisted of Polk speakers, and I love Polk. They've served me well, and they will always be dear to me because they were the first true big brand commercial speakers I bought for myself. But I've never had true high-end, in-game status speakers. You know that saying, you don't even know what you don't know? Yeah, that was me. I didn't really know what I was missing out on until I got the 1723 Center S and realized, wow, my pokes are really bright and distort at higher volumes with massive ear fatigue. Now granted, I knew that before I had any Arendal speaker, but the Arendals just made it even more glaring. And now that my LCR belongs to Arendal and is timbre matched, I cannot and will not ever go back. Baby, come back. All right, on to some demos. The first movie I watched with my new timbre matched LCRs featuring the 1961s was probably the most popular movie of 2022 and my new #1 go-to demo movie, Top Gun Maverick. Pick pretty much any action sequence in this movie and you'll get a demo-worthy showstopper. I really love Top Gun Maverick for demos because it really exposes how good or not so good your LCR is at imaging, infrasonics, and detail clarity. Next up is another ear candy demo, Ready Player One. And you already know which scene I'm gonna use. Yep, the race scene. There is so much going on in this scene. There's huge explosions, there's gut-wrenching bass with Kong destroying everything in its path, but there's also subtle nuances. Like every time someone's avatar zeroes out and they lose their coin. There's just so much dynamic range in this scene alone, so let's see how the 1961s handle all that chaos.
First to the key!
First to the egg!
H, are you seeing this?
Yeah, I see it. That's Kaneda's bike from Akira.
The last demo is probably going to be my second favorite movie to come out this year for showcasing some of the greatest object-based audio you'll find on 4K Blu-ray, Jurassic World Dominion in DTS:X. Now, regardless of how you feel about the movie, Dominion has a top-notch DTS:X track. In fact, in my opinion, it's the best DTS track I've ever heard. My favorite demo scene is when Bryce Dallas Howard's character is stuck in a tree and that Edward Scissorhand Dinosaur comes up from behind her, making that intimidating clicking sound that echoes and reverberates all around you. The 1961s handled each of these movies flawlessly in every way. Detail, clarity, SPL, dynamic range, and they even shine in quieter scenes like A Quiet Place 1 and 2. The 1961s punch well above their weight in pretty much every category and integrate seamlessly with their much bigger counterpart, the 1723 Center S. If you're enjoying this video, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel grow. And if you want to support the channel further, check out my affiliate links in the description and check out my Patreon page and consider becoming a Patreon. I've never been a big 2-channel guy for music, but with such an upgrade in fidelity over my Polks, I had to give the 1961s a try with music. One really cool feature about Anthem Arc Genesis is that you can have multiple profiles when you run calibration. So, if you want a speaker configuration for your full-blown multi-channel object-based audio setup, and another profile for just 2-channel listening, you can do that. And it's as quick as loading the profile from your computer to your Anthem receiver or pre-pro, and you're done. From Alice in Chains, to Stain, to Breaking Benjamin, to Low Pro, the 1961s image exceptionally well, giving me that phantom center. While rock and alternative music don't typically have much bass, the 1961s were tight, super punchy, and fast with those 4 5.5-inch woofers. And I wasn't even using a sub. Now mind you, I'm not listening to any SACDs or high-resolution audio files from Tidal or Apple Music. I'm just streaming my CD rips from my Plex server. One of the best parts about upgrading my LCR to Arendal is how much power they can take because of their 4-ohm rating. With my Emotiva XPA3 Gen 2 fitting the 1961's 300 watts a channel at 4 ohms, the 1961s are getting a ton of clean power, which really helps during dynamic and demanding scenes. This is great because now I can turn my system up pretty much as loud as I want without having to worry about distortion, harshness, or ear fatigue, unlike the Polks. I used to have a real bad problem with some seriously annoying loudspeaker hum for about a year coming from all my Polks. Really, all my speakers. Well, proper cable management pretty much fixed that issue, but there was still your standard speaker hum or hiss. It just wasn't as audible unless you got near the speaker. The 1961s, zero hum. Same with the 1723 Center S. I literally have to press my ear right on the grill to hear an ever so slight hiss. But sitting at my main speaker position or in any seat in my theater, dead quiet. The only real issue I had with the 1961s is that my remaining Sewell banana plugs that I haven't switched over to the superior Fosspower banana plugs wouldn't insert all the way. I'm not sure why the Sewells didn't fit, but it just encouraged me to stop being lazy and upgrade to the Fosspowers. While I do wish the 1961s would have been a little bit taller, don't let their smaller size fool you because the 1961s absolutely rock and integrate seamlessly with my 1723 Center S center channel.
Okay, so final thoughts. I absolutely love these Arendal 1961 speakers. These are by far the best speakers that I've ever had in my home theater that I've ever owned. Well, technically I don't own them yet. I do own the 1723 Center S, and I do plan on purchasing these 1961s. Hopefully Arendal will let me keep them for a few more months before I'm ready to buy them. But I'm just thoroughly impressed. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew what to expect because I've been using the 1723 Center S for, I guess half a year now, but I didn't really know what to expect with these because they were smaller. But really the only big difference is the cabinet size and maybe a little less dampening inside. But these things absolutely rock. When you see them, like when I first unboxed them, I was like, wow, these are a lot smaller than I was expecting. I was like, man, I should have requested the 1723 S. But this is actually good because, as I said before, I don't have a whole lot of space up front. I'm hoping that I can remedy that next year. But don't let this size fool you, man, because these things rock. Now, for movies, pretty much everybody that knows about Arendal and owns them knows that these things rock for movies. And one thing that is glaringly different or obvious coming from, using Polk for 10 years, and I've said this before, but Polk is a very bright speaker. And obviously there's a lot of factors that come into play, your room size, acoustics, and all that stuff like that. My room is pretty well treated. I do have some obvious and glaring areas that I need to fix, which these speakers actually revealed that. But Polk is a very bright and harsh speaker. And what I mean by harsh is that when I'm watching movies and I turn the volume up, I typically listen to around -18 or -16, and that's pushing it. Anything higher than that, it's literally painful to listen to. So I've never really been able to, like when I'm watching movies or something, I've never really been able to have an extensive listening or movie watching experience at higher volumes. I've always had to turn it down because, and obviously, the human ear can only take so much. So it doesn't matter what processor, receiver, amplifier, speakers you're using, it's going to get to a point where if you turn it up, it's just going to hurt because it's just too loud. The human ear can't take that much. And I'm not trying to do that. My goal is to listen or watch movies in a way that the director, content creator intended. So when you go to like an IMAX movie theater, which I went to the other day, it's super, super loud in there. And when I went the other day, they were playing some trailers, and I was like, man, this is kind of too loud. And I think they turned it down for the actual movie. But you want that experience. I want to feel enveloped. I want to feel like I'm part of the movie. I want to feel the bass. I don't want to have to worry about losing clarity and detail, at higher volumes, which again, I love Polk. They make some very good speakers, and I've been happy to be using Polk for the past 10 or so years, but I've never been able to turn them up past a certain point without it being like excruciating. Like you can still hear the movie and you can still make out sounds, but it's just so much distortion and it just physically hurts. Arendal speakers are not like that. And I love that about these speakers. I love that now I can turn up the volume pretty much as loud as I want to before it actually starts physically hurting because of the human ear, not because of the speaker. But I love that I can turn up the volume on movies and music, but mainly movies, and I don't lose, fidelity, I don't lose clarity, I don't have to worry about any distortion, harshness, fatigue, none of that stuff. And these speakers are just anything that, beyond anything that I've ever had in my theater. I'm still new to this YouTube thing. I'm still experiencing other speakers. I got to experience some really cool stuff at CEDIA, and I'm going to CES in a couple weeks. But yeah, these are going to be a keeper. Like, I'm glad that I went with Arendal for my home theater. Now for music, I've said this before also, I've never been a big 2-channel guy, but specifically for this review and for future, I'm trying to get into 2-channel listening. I have listened to some of my theater, but when I listen to music, I'm usually like 99% listening on headphones. But I decided to do some true 2-channel listening. No sub, nothing like that. And before, I mentioned that these speakers can go down to 30 hertz. That was wrong. They can go down to 39 hertz, ported. So originally when I did my Anthem Arc Genesis, I set the crossover to 50 hertz, and then I forgot, and I was like, wait, they can go down to 39 hertz, so 40 hertz. So then I went back and I just, went into the Arc software, and I set them to cross over at 40 hertz. Same with my center channel. And I still have some testing to do with that, so some more extensive testing, but so far I'm liking it. I don't know how it's going to sound across, every movie, because I've just always crossed over my speakers at 8 hertz and let, send everything else to the sub. But so far I'm liking it. And I do notice the biggest difference is male voices. Like, there's a lot more depth in voices. A lot of voices are deeper, and I was like, wow, I didn't realize, that actor's voice was that deep. And obviously, most voices are going to be coming out of the center channel, and the center channel, the 1723S really shines at crossing over at 40 hertz. So, but music, I intended to only sit down for about 15 minutes and listen to some tracks, and I ended up spending 30-40 minutes just listening because I was so impressed with these things. Like, even though, they only go down to 40 hertz, for 2-channel listening without a sub, these things sound absolutely amazing. Obviously, it depends on the clarity or, the fidelity of the track. Again, I wasn't listening to like Tidal or Apple Lossless music or anything. Most of my music is done with, music rips, and they are, full rips. They're not compressed or anything like that. I was thoroughly impressed at how loud these things can get. And mind you, also, I wasn't sitting in my normal theater chair. I was sitting up front on the front row, which I could never do with my pokes because it was just way too loud, way too harsh. I do sit up on the front row when my friends come over so they can sit in the good seats, and sometimes it's rough. Sometimes I want to turn it down, but I'm like, I don't want them to, miss out on the experience because my ears are hurting. But I typically don't listen that loud if I'm sitting on the front row, like by myself doing some testing. But I was sitting on the front row and I had them turned up to, I think, -14, listening to music, 2-channel. And man, the clarity and the detail is just absolutely amazing on these speakers. So I'm actually interested to see what the 1723S towers sound like. So that's probably going to be my next speaker that I get. Obviously, I still need to get these and, pay for these. But when I'm ready and when I have some money, I do want my LCR to be the complete, Arendal 1723S line. And I'll probably move these to the back for, my rears. But yeah, those are my final thoughts, man. If you're on the fence about Arendal, don't be. Like, jump off the fence, go to their website, buy their speakers. And they have an awesome trial period. I believe it's 60 days where you can take them into your you can get the speakers. If you don't like them, you can send them back. I believe they cover the shipping. So, but yeah, I mean, that's really awesome that they give you that opportunity because you need to hear the speaker in your system anyway. You can go to a showroom or for any speaker, other companies that do that stuff, and you might like it, and then you get home and you're like, man, this doesn't sound good at all in my room. Or it doesn't sound good in the showroom, but it might sound good in your theater. And the fact that they give you that option, because you need some time, if the break-in period for these speakers are 50 hours, then, you're gonna need at least a month probably to break the speaker in and see how it sounds. So those are my final thoughts, man. I am absolutely happy with this. The 1961s along with my 1723 Center S, absolutely good pairing. You can mix and match these. I can tell you that. I didn't notice any, they're timbre match, and I didn't notice that, voices or panning or anything sounded out of whack. Even though that it's a smaller speaker, again, they are manufactured with the same high quality materials, HDF, and the only difference is that these are just a smaller cabinet. So yeah, man, go ahead, check them out. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments.
So for me, I have achieved in-game status. Well, at least for now with my LCR. I really love that Arendal gives the consumers so many options to mix and match both their speaker lines with the 1723Ss and the 1961s without compromising on build quality or performance. And within the 1723 line, you also have the 1723S, which is the little brother to the 1723s. So really, there's 3 different lines of speakers to choose from, all timbre matched, all using the same high quality materials. So that's it for my review of Arendal's 1961 towers. And with my review out of the way, I want to know your thoughts on the 1961's Inquiry of the Week. Are you rocking Arendal's 1961 towers in your home theater or 2-channel setup? Are you mix and matching them with any other speakers from Arendal? Are you running them full range? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. That's going to conclude it for this review. So if you enjoyed this video, why don't you hit the like button and share it with your friends? As always, no matter where you're at on your home theater journey, make sure you enjoy it. For Haterade Cowboy Cinema, I'm Haterade Cowboy, and I'll see you guys in the next video.